Hello, my darling flowers of Lincoln. Welcome back to yet another juicy episode of Love and Deep Discussion. On today's note, we are going to be discussing about the fake or faux wedding-esque banner called Witnessed by Deepspace, which has been out for over a week now. Pretty much to find out whether or not does it actually have an identity crisis? Does it have an identity problem? It's a wedding, but it's not. It's an engagement, but it's actually not. Why is it that in the cards, they referred to MC's clearly bridal outfit as just formal evening wear? What is up with that? As usual, all credits go to the lovely posters on Reddit that share their thoughts and opinions and choose to have a healthy discussion there. I would appreciate if we could maintain the same level of healthy discussion down in the comment section below. Without further ado, I will begin reading the post that got a huge amount of traction on Reddit, and then I will be giving my thoughts somewhere towards the end of the video. Hope you enjoy, my darling hunters. Let us begin. So the post is Witnessed by Deepspace has an identity problem. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. A lot of people have talked about this, but now that I finally played two of the memories, it became more obvious to me. Witnessed by Deepspace, it's a wedding, but it's not. It's like an engagement, but it kind of isn't, and that is the problem. It's some kind of vows, but in a wedding dress? We get wedding dresses that are only called formal attire. The wedding itself is referenced to being eternal vows without actually ever saying the word marriage. Only MC receives a ring with her outfit while the ally or love interest doesn't get a ring, which is more of an engagement than a wedding thing. The wedding itself happens in these fluctuation rifts, otherwise known as the spatial anomalies, that kind of go through deep space. Now, this is one of the part I really like for this card because it could have set us up for an alternative timeline, something like tomorrow's Catch-22, meaning we could have had some type of proper wedding going on without worrying if it currently fits the pace of the relationship progressions. But instead, it's kind of happening in the canon timeline, which puts this banner in this weird situation of wedding is too early, so we'll make it look like a wedding and seem like a wedding, but it's not a wedding. Two responses that stood out to me. The first one, they said, I surprisingly don't have a problem with it. I just look at this banner as some sort of alternative happy ending to their myths. Although I can also understand why some people find it weird. The cards could have existed without the whole dressing up into wedding attire. It more or less looks like they just wanted to make people spend for the outfits and the rings rather than give a story with them as the main theme. The second response that stood out to me, actually in China, I heard you typically take your wedding photos before the actual wedding so you can have pictures up for the reception, lol. So in the context of their culture, this banner didn't surprise me in that sense. It felt like a commitment ceremony, like promising to take that step together eventually. Considering how many people were upset by the idea of a wedding banner, I just see this game's execution as a fair compromise for those who do and do not want marriage. They go on to say, it would be an actual wedding, and I think the devs want to do a wedding banner again next year, so having them officially married would kind of ruin that. Plan. Lol, I've read a handful of manga chapters where they have the female lead and the male lead visit a store where they can try on bridal gowns, so the wedding dresses to me don't always equate to exchanging vows. I remember an episode of Idolmaster where the idols did a photo shoot in bridal gowns. Even Starlight Stage had June bride banners. That doesn't mean that they got married, so I was prepared for this. And now look, first and foremost, I managed to get my two mains, which is Zayn and Silas. I got both their cards, and before I can make any comments on their cards, I did end up reading, of course, Caleb's, Xavier's and Raphael's cards before I even read theirs on YouTube. Read Zayn and Silas's. I kept Zayn and Silas's for last. And the thing is, they were all beautifully written in my opinion, like as I've said before in a video, or if in case you didn't know, even though Zayn and Silas are my mains, I am a harem girly at heart, so I do obviously hold a special place for each and every single one of them, meaning I love all of them, okay? I love each and every single guy equally, and if I had the ability to pull for all of them all the time, I definitely would do that, but I cannot, unfortunately. So with that out of the way, I agree with the first response or the first reply to the main post was they could have still, like, it doesn't bother me personally, the whole theme, whether it's a wedding or an engagement or whether it's fake or whether it's not. The whole point is, why did it have to be in wedding dresses? Like, that is my only confusion. Like, when it said, even in the text in the actual cards, right, it says evening attire or evening formal wear, something along those lines. So it doesn't even mention bridal gown or bridal dress or anything. So that is where some of my confusion kind of lies, because they could have just kept everything the same, but or they didn't have to make it colorful, like let's say for example, for Zayn, they could have done like a very light icy blue tone to MC's dress. For Silas, they could have done like a very light red. For Caleb, like a light orangey yellow. For Xavier, something very lilac or lavender-esque. And for Raphael, something very light, like a light shade of pink. So I'm not really sure what exactly is the reason for that, but then that brings me to the second person's response. They said that it's a very common practice in China that they take engagement photos or like photos in the wedding dresses before the actual wedding even takes place. So maybe this is the reason for that. And they do, obviously, Infold, they do have a previous game which are like with 2D male characters, called MLQC, or Mr. Love Queen's Choice. And from what I've heard or read, I have seen that they have done many types of these wedding-esque banners almost every year, if I'm not mistaken. So this seems to be a very popular theme, and obviously it's not really referencing an actual wedding. It's like an engagement party or like a photo shoot. Engagement party, like as in they go to an event where it's either MC's friend or one of the love interest friends. And this brings me to Silas's card, because this is actually what they end up doing in Silas's alternative Darkborn card. They actually, MC is like looking for Silas to be her +1, to go to the engagement party of her friend, right? And so I love how they lean into that theme. I also really love how the direction in which they took, where the spatial anomaly in Silas's card actually ended up being his very first safe house or his first home, and the ties into that, and he actually from time to time would occasionally go there and spend some time. It's got like lived in items and materials from like the Beyond Cloudfall Dragon Myth. There's, as you might have probably already guessed by now, there's a heavy referencing to their myth stories which tie into these cards. So that is a very beautiful touch, which I really do love and really do adore. And yeah, I do love the pacing in which they went with Silas's card, so I was pretty satisfied with that, with his card. And similarly for Zayn's Iceborne Warmth, I do love how the whole pretext was, they just wanted to unwind, and they wanted to go on a camping trip together, and they're in a tent and they're just enjoying their camping experience. And then the next morning when they wake up, they find that when they go outside the tent, there is a huge tower. Now this tower references Zayn's Foreseer myth, and then they end up having some really cute lovey-dovey moments in that tower. And of course, Zayn and his immaculate kissing noises. Zayn's VA, I love you so much. Your voice is insanely amazing. It's quite literally honey. It is so sweet and it is so gorgeous to listen to, or it's just so sorry for my obsessive and funny fangirling. But yeah, I mean, obviously Silas's voice actor is immaculate as well. I mean, that deep voice just does things to like the girlies everywhere. But no, like I really do love the direction that they took with Zayn and Silas's cards, and I was heavily satisfied and quite happy with the way that they ended. Now, even for Caleb, Xavier's, and for Raphael, okay, before I can like address anything else, I just want to say that when it comes to MC's wedding dress and the guys' suits, right? For the case of Raphael and Silas, they actually bring the suit and gowns with them. Like, for example, with Raphael, he already had the suit and the bridal gown prepared for MC. Silas also already came dressed up with the suit when they meet on the third day inside the church, when they were trying to renovate it and then make some happy memories just before it disappeared from the atmosphere and stuff. So, and he also prepared the gown for MC, kept it in a large box or a gift box and whatnot. But I recall that for Zayn, Xavier, and for Caleb, they had to resonate, and then that is when, because of the power of their combined, like their abilities and the resonance and everything, that is what caused their outfits to change. So that is one thing that is a very, very interesting thing. Like, why is it that why didn't they keep a uniform theme for all of them? Like, all of them resonate and their outfits change. Why is it that for particularly for Silas and for Raphael, if you've read all the cards for this banner, why is it just for Silas and for Raphael that they come prepared with the outfits? So I'm not necessarily sure if this was intentional or if this was just like they didn't think too deeply about it. But knowing Infold, they never do something for no reason. You know, there's always a deep meaning behind every single thing that they tend to do, plot wise, story wise, intentionally or unintentionally. I feel like there is something that I might be missing. Maybe, I don't know. In Caleb's card, they went on the pretext of going and finding their shelter. With Xavier, they were both hunters doing their jobs with regard to the spatial anomalies, and they just wanted to find a place to relax and chill out. With Raphael, they were stranded on an island. That was pretty cute and funny. Insanely amazing graphics. Again, I was fully prepared that this was obviously not going to be a real wedding. Like, in my mind, when I saw these speculations online, I in my mind instantly thought, okay, it's either going to be a photo shoot or it's going to be some sort of event where they have to go on like a mission and they go undercover, like they go undercover as wedding guests on behalf of somebody else's wedding or on behalf of someone's engagement. That was my initial genuine honest thought process when I saw speculations about this banner. And when it came to the actual evening formal wear, I really did think they were gonna wear outfits that were not bridal for MC, but just regular evening formal wear outfits. But I've been rambling on for this for far too long. Let me know, what did you think? What did you darlings or you flowers of Lincoln, what did you think? Was there any cards that stood out to you? Was there some, heavy plot lines that you... Obviously, each of the cards were plot heavy and referenced their myths and stuff, but did anything particularly stand out to you? Was there something odd? Was there something you liked? Was there something you didn't like? Let me know in the comments section below. Until next time, my flowers of Lincoln, may diamonds rain on you. Bye-bye.